Should we stop eating meat to save the planet? Scottish families could be told to eat less meat under the SNP's push for net zero. Climate advisors to the Scottish Government want a 30% drop in meat consumption. Farmers say that this would devastate businesses and even threaten the traditional Sunday roast. So are you with the farmers or are you with the climate advisors? Do you think we should stop eating meat to save the planet? Maybe you've already done it. The number 0207 862 2222. Have we got any vegetarians here? Any veggies in the house? No. Have you ever tried to be one or thought you should be one? Chesney, and didn't last long?
No, I have moments where I just, won't eat meat for a long time. My daughter's vegetarian. She does it for all the same reasons that you just talked about there, that the way that animals are treated. For me, I try and always look, if I'm eating meat, I always look for ethically sourced, and I think it's up to the individual on what you do, to be honest with you. I'm not sure it should be legislated.
All I can tell you is the one time I got an invitation, I am name-dropping here shamelessly, from Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney, Vanessa. Sir Paul McCartney requests the pleasure of your company at a club in Soho at lunchtime, blah, blah. God, boy, was I excited. Anyway, I trot along to this thing, and we were essentially shown a film and given a small lecture on how we should all be giving up meat for at least one day a week. That's what I thought it was just because he loved me, but it wasn't that at all. But from that moment, I have been sort of more aware of it, of trying to eat less of it and maybe one day a week not eating meat for the sake of the planet. Very compelling film he showed, of course. Yeah. Have you ever considered it?
I was a vegetarian for 4 or 5 years. I gave up meat for Lent. My daughter and I do that every year. We have for the past few. I could quite easily give up meat. We try not my husband eats meat every day. He's a different story. But my daughter and I, sort of half the week, we just don't eat meat because it's a bit better for you. Meat-free Mondays, we certainly do.
But are you doing that for your own health? Are you doing that for the health of the planet? Are you doing that for the animals?
Both. She's doing it for the health of the planet. I'm doing it for just sort of overall health. And I think it's possible to do that, meat-free Mondays. And if you do it a couple of days a week, I don't necessarily think it has to threaten the Sunday roast. I don't know, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one, but when it comes to climate change, it is up to everybody to do the little bit, and the little drops make up a big ocean. Everybody has to do their little bit to get to a good goal.
I think that's all of that is absolutely fair, and I would certainly echo Chesney's points about higher welfare farming. That's something that I think the penny has dropped a lot of people. But of course, it comes with a higher price tag, and we are still dealing with high inflation and cost of living crisis, and more kids in poverty and so on. So it's very, very tempting to lecture on these issues, but also can go down like a lead balloon when you're lecturing on these issues, when people are struggling to put any food on their kids' plates. I also had a daughter who went through a vegan phase, and I became very au fait with. It's so expensive. It's really ultra processed. A lot of it, which I'm passionately anti, because I think that's led to
I think that's worse. That's more of an epidemic.
I think it is, and if you think about, yes, we've got a planetary, crisis. We know that we have an obesity crisis as well, and you have to sort of weigh all these. Excuse the pun, weigh all these things up when you're talking about food. Plus, also, I do care passionately about farmers and about our food security, and not shipping stuff, both for the carbon imprint, but also the ridiculousness, as we discovered in the pandemic, of if we're totally reliant on importing lots of foreign food and not using our own farmers to produce that. But I think the answer probably is eat less meat, spend a little bit more money, so the same money as you would, but eat less of it, but better quality, but support British farmers as well. And of course, they are under threat, and they don't quite know yet what the impact of tariffs from Trump and how that's going to affect farming here. So I think all these things have to be carefully balanced, and just not say, let's all eat avocados that are doing so much damage to forests in Mexico.
No, that's the truth as well. You can get really deep into it, and there's so many foods, even, avocados, which you think are, but it's really, really affecting, the world.
Yeah, it really is.
But do you think realistically, most people watching this programme now will be eating less meat, and it might well be for reasons of cost, just because this cost of living crisis has been going on for so long. The idea that you might might tuck into a juicy steak tonight, or you might have, you know, a plate piled with lovely, delicious, you know, crispy lamb chops or something like that. You know, I wonder how many people are eating in that way on an ordinary night in the middle of the week. I wonder whether actually people are kind of eking out food much more than they used to do.
I think so, and I think probably like Daisy said, talking about ultra processed foods that tend to be cheaper as well. People might be eating lower quality meat, and that's, you know, absolutely worse for you. And I think
And the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could be right that people probably aren't eating as much meat as they used to, and if they are, it's probably not as good quality. Maybe that's something to focus on as well.
Yes, but I just wonder whether one of the things we don't like are other people preaching to us about what we should eat, what we shouldn't eat. You know, as soon as anyone starts telling you, you start thinking, oh,
why am I doing that?
Yeah, you know, actually, it's one of my basic liberties is to eat whatever the good Lord has created to put on my plate, and I'm going to eat it without you.
That's why they're bringing up the you know, the Sunday roast thing.
Yes.
It's all about tradition, isn't it? I'll eat my Sunday roast if I want.
All right, let's talk to Heather in Hertfordshire. Heather, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I don't think we should stop eating meat. I do believe in good animal husbandry, and equally important that they are killed in a compassionate fashion. I think that really it's these fast food chains like McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, they have pushed up the production of meat. I know McDonald's say it's from, you know, well looked after cows in Scotland or wherever, but Kentucky Fried Chicken and such places, the billions of chickens that we eat, and that certainly is contributing to environmental pollution. I really think there should be a curb on people like that. It's all, they want to produce
and yes,
meat
of course,
cheaply.
Heather, as with all these hugely successful chains and businesses, supply and demand. If we didn't want them, we wouldn't eat them. If we didn't like it, we wouldn't go there. And the reason why they successfully expand all over the world is because there seems to be a gargantuan appetite on our part.
But they could be more ethical
for that
than it,
food.
Vanessa.
All right, absolutely true as well.